Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win, and we're back for another edition of Diablo 3. Today on the channel, we are taking a look at the Firebird's Finery set armor for the Wizard. This is the starter set for Season 25 of Diablo 3 for the Wizard class. Keep in mind that Firebird's Finery has seen a significant nerf this season to the 6-piece bonus. So, without further ado, here it is. Firebird's Finery, 2-piece bonus, disintegrate ignites enemies, causing them to take 3,000 weapon damage per second until they die. When you die, a meteor falls from the sky, resurrecting you, 60-second cooldown. 4-piece bonus, casting disintegrate adds combustion stacks that reduce the cooldown of teleport by 2%, and it maintains the amount of stacks. Now, here, the 6-piece bonus, this is what's been changed. You gain 5,000% increased damage while ignite is applied to a target. Hitting an ignited enemy with a non-channeling fire spell deals ignite damage multiplied by combustion stacks. Pets cannot trigger this effect. So the last part, which is the affix, pets cannot trigger this effect, has nerfed this build significantly. Also, the 5,000% increased damage has been nerfed a little bit. It was a higher damage amount. So we're going to be using mostly a full set of Firebird's Finery. We're also going to be using Captain Crimson because Captain Crimson goes with everything as you see here. In case you need a refresher on Captain Crimson, 2-piece bonus, 6,000 life per second, reduces cooldown on all skills by 20%, reduces all resource costs by 20%. 3-piece bonus, damage that was increased by your percentage of cooldown reduction, damage taken is reduced by the amount of damage reduction you have. We're going to be using Conventional Elements Ring, Halo of Finery, Orb of Infinite Death. Each time an enemy hit with an explosive blast, your damage is increased by 10%, and your damage is reduced by 50%. Death Wish, because we're going to be using a channeling spell on this particular build, so that will help with Disintegrate. Ashgard's Blood Bracers, increase the potency of your shields. Squirt's Necklace with Taeguk as our gem. That will help. You become a bit of a glass cannon here, but keep in mind, because of the 2-piece bonus, this shouldn't affect your build too much. Subsequently, I will still be using pets on this build because there's ways to mitigate some of the damage that's been reduced for them, so keep that in mind. For the skills, Spectral Blade, Flame Blades, this is going to be a go-to for being able to get your resources back. Hydra, Blazing Hydra, yes, pets no longer work, but it's still a good ability to run because all of our options here don't really work so well with it and won't help in regards to the synergy. You could run Energy Twister, but that's a whole completely different Firebird build. So what we're going to do is we are going to stick with the pets and find different ways to increase their damage, which is what this build does. So keep in mind, there's not really anything else that's a non-channeling spell that will be able to really do much for the Disintegrate and 4-piece, 6-piece bonus here, okay? So we're going to stick with the Hydra, Blazing Hydra, because we can modify its power with certain things that we're using. Moving on, Teleport, Safe Passage. Explosive Blast, Chain Reaction is the way that you want to go. Mirror Image, Extension of Will. Again, Mirror Images are kind of pets, but they still can do a decent amount of damage based on them using certain skills, so keep that in mind. Convergence, Disintegrate is the way you want to go because we want fire damage here. For the passives, Galvanizing Ward. We also want Arcane Dynamo. We also want Audacity for our passive and Conflagration. That way we can increase the amount of burnt effect, which comes in significantly helpful for this build. For the Kanai's Cube, this is how we're going to modify things. Serpent Sparker to increase the amount of damage that's done by the Hydras. Mantle of Channeling because we're using Disintegrate. And a Ring of Royal Grandeur because we need it in order to be able to get all the pieces that we need for our bonuses. For the follower, recommendation, Broken Crown, Nemesis Bracers, Flavor of Time. Everything else that you do is just inconsequential, won't really help too much with the build. Really, it's all about Broken Crown, Flavor of Time, and Nemesis Bracers. Everything else is just added extra eminent abilities. Now, for the purpose of this showcase, I'm going to show you a Greater Riff 60, a Greater Riff 65, and then a Greater Riff 70. That way I can showcase how this build works. Keep in mind that Firebird's Finery, because of the nerfs and everything of the sort, is going to act more like a push build. It is not going to get you super speedy, fast, quick clear times. So if you're looking for super fast, speedy clear times, I suggest you take a look at my Chantotum Veer build in particular from Season 24, or if you take a look at the Frost Hydra build. So the first thing that you want to do when you get into the Greater Rift is obviously you want to activate or cast your Disintegrate. When you cast your Disintegrate, you will see every so often that there's this burn mark that applied to enemies. Those enemies are basically affected by your combustion stacks. From there, what you could do is you could use your Spectral Blade or have your Mirror Images try to take out Enemies, keep in mind again with the 4-piece, 6-piece bonus, I should say, that everything doesn't really hit as much as hard. The Hydras still are pretty good at zoning things, and because of the Serpentin's Sparker, they can still do a tremendous amount of damage. On top of that, in order to increase the amount of damage that our pets are dealing, what we have done is we have swapped out one of our gems for Enforcer. Enforcer legendary gem just says that based on the level that it has, the amount of damage that your pets deal is increased, as well as the amount of damage that is taken to your pets is reduced. So this is a way that you kind of mitigate the fact that the 6-piece bonus has been changed not to work with pets. Again, it's a pretty simple strategy to do here. You cast your Disintegrate on everything that's around. Your Hydras will pick off things. Your Spectral Blades, when you get close to enemies, can pick off things and will get the combustion stacks. And the Mirror Images will help pick off some of the straggling enemies. Really, when you get to, in particular, Elite Packs, what you're going to want to do is obviously Disintegrate on them first, and then use your Spectral Blades. When you use your Spectral Blades, what will happen is you pretty much, on most of the lower greater rifts, will pop the enemy, which in turn will show the orbs that you just saw, which will help you do the greater rift. Again, same strategy as before. Something else that you could do is you can move far away from the enemy, and if you're using Zae's Stone of Vengeance, you can do an increased amount of damage based on every 10 yards that your distance between the enemy. One of the good things with this particular build is that it's great at zoning enemies from far away, so you can really teleport to a far distance of the map and just fire away your Disintegrate, and thanks to Zae's Stone of Vengeance, in conjunction with the Earthlings that you're running, you can do a tremendous amount of damage. Keep in mind with Squirt's Necklace, though, we cannot stay stationary for very long, because if we do so, we have a high chance of taking a tremendous amount of damage, which will end up killing us. And as everybody knows, when you die in a Greater Rift, you lose your 4-piece chance bonus to augment the gems. So you really want to try to be very conservative with your attacks. Every so often you want to make sure that your shields are active. You get them basically through pylons, so keep that in mind. And again, it's pretty easy. A lot of people will consider Firebird's Finery to be the S tier build for the Wizard. I personally think with the nerfs that it is no longer the S tier build. I would say it's closer to an A tier build. It still is able to push at very good high greater rifts on solo. I mean, in general, when you have proper optimization, which we will be talking about in a second, you should on average be able to clear a greater rift 130 to 135 solo. In a group of 4 that know exactly what they're doing and have metagame armors and everything of the sort, you should in theory be able to clear a greater rift 150, but it is very dependent again on what everybody is running and how efficiently you're optimized. So like I said before, this is a Season 25 starter set for the Wizard. So if you're just new to Diablo 3 and you haven't played any of the seasons, this is how it works. Starting on Chapter 2, you get 2 pieces of the Hadred's Gift. Upon completion of Chapter 3 of your seasonal journey, you get another 2 pieces of the Hadred's Gift. On Chapter 4's completion, you get another 2 pieces of the Hadred's Gift Cachet. What basically happens here is with the Tyrael's Cachet, every time you open it, or correction, Hadred's Gift Cachet, every time that you open it, you will get 2 pieces of your starter set armor. Since you picked the Wizard class, it is Firebird's Finery. So when you open it for Chapter 2, you'll get 2 pieces of your Hadred's Gift. Chapter 3, another 2 pieces. Chapter 4, the final 2 pieces. You are always guaranteed a full set of your starter set armor. You are not guaranteed that it is an Ancient Legendary. Ancient Legendary is basically the gold border that you see around the armor pieces, and you're definitely not guaranteed a Primal Ancient Legendary. Primal Ancient Legendary is the armor pieces that have a red border around them. In order to get a Primal Ancient Legendary to drop in season, you have to be able to clear a greater of 70 solo, which in the beginning of your seasonal journey is going to be next to near impossible to do without a starter set anyway, so that is why you cannot get it to drop from a Hadred's Gift Cachet. So in terms of optimization, there's a lot of things that you're going to need to do for this build. The first thing that you need to do is obviously get Captain Crimson, because Captain Crimson does not come with the starter set. In order to get Captain Crimson, you're going to have to do a lot of bounties, and you're going to have to run a lot of Nephilim lifts. Every time that you complete a chapter, or not a chapter so much, but a actual run of your bounties and get a Tyrael Cachet, there is a significantly high chance that you may get the plans to Captain Crimson. Also, as you do greater rifts and Nephilim rifts, as well as just doing bounties, there's a chance that you can run into a goblin. I believe it's the green one, in which the plans for that can drop as well. So I recommend that you do maybe 2 to 3 hours of bounty runs, and you should eventually get the plans with general ease. The benefit to doing bounty runs as well is that you're going to get shards that you need to be able to reroll for weapons. It's also going to give you materials that you need to put things into your kunai's cube. So you're able to kill basically 3 birds with basically 1 stone, which is what you want to do to make your runs and make your season very time efficient. So please heed my advice, because I know somebody's going to come into the comments and then say, well, Captain Crimson doesn't do this and this doesn't do that, and this is the reason why, because you didn't take the time to optimize. Now hold the thought before we talk about further optimization. When it comes to Riff Guardian, very simple. Activate your Disintegrate, get your mirror images, attack with your Spectral Blade, and in theory, most of the time, it should pop very quickly in the lower greater rifts. In the higher greater rifts, you have to be a bit more tactful, which I will show you when we get to a greater rift. 70. And again, for the gems, my recommendation, Zay's Stone of Vengeance. I also recommend a Goak of Swiftness. That way you can just increase the amount of cooldown that you have. Subsequently, if you don't want more cooldown, although I recommend it because of the Captain Crimson set, you could go Bane of the Stricken. It's a matter of whether you want to go with that or not. Zay's Stone of Vengeance is going to be very helpful because you're going to be zoning things from far anyway, so why wouldn't you run something that helps your zone potential? Greater Rift 60, Tournament 13 difficulty, 5 minutes and 46 second clear time. Keep in mind that as you go higher up, you're going to have to add 30 seconds there. This is going to be a Greater Rift 65 run. Same strategy as before. First off, Disintegrate, apply your combustion stacks. Then from there, you're going to want to use your Chain Reaction as well as your Spectral Blade to do the main source of damage. My recommendation when you're using your Explosive Blast Chain Reaction is to wait to use it against enemies that are coming at you. That way you can basically do some area of effect. It's also kind of good to save your Explosive Blast Chain Reactions for when you see Riff Guardians, particularly as you're getting higher up, because it will be very helpful with the offhand, and it will kind of shave off a couple of seconds of damage and do a lot more than you generally think. Spectral Blade really does a lot more. It's actually one of the deceptively really good skills that can be run on Firebird. So definitely keep... There's another variation that uses Energy Twister, but the problem is that you're going to have to rely more so on things that you would normally use on Magnum Opus, and you have to take away from other things that you kind of want to power up in this particular build. Now, in terms of optimization with this armor, what can we do to help further augment its power? Well, for starters, on your helm, I recommend that you have crit hit chance 6.0%. On your gloves, I recommend crit hit chance 6.0%, crit hit damage 50%, and at least an attack speed of 7.0%. All 3 of these stats combined on your gloves will tremendously increase the amount of damage and power that you do. Critical hit damage, for those of you who might be new, just means that every time you attack with a skill, it has a chance to do the maximum amount of damage. So why wouldn't you boost stats that could potentially give you more damage overall, especially as you go higher up in the greater? So I recommend on your gloves that you must run those 3 stats. I know it takes a while to get a good glove that's rare or ancient legendary rare with these stats, but it will be in your benefit. Now, the other thing that you must pay close attention to is getting cooldown reduction at 8.0% wherever you can on the armor. Wherever you can get cooldown reduction 8.0%, it is in your benefit to do that, because we are using, remember, Captain Crimson. Captain Crimson states that for amount of cooldown reduction you have, you get increased amount of damage. So you need to increase the amount of damage that you deal potentially by getting 8.0% everywhere. The other stat that's going to be very important, in particular for Firebird, because Firebird's going to be a little bit of a glass canyon thanks to Squirt's Necklace, is that you must get cooldown reduction wherever you can, 8.0%. Same thing because of Captain Crimson. Captain Crimson says, anytime that you have cooldown reduction, you increase, or not cooldown reduction, resource cost reduction, the amount of damage that you're taking is decreased significantly. So if you have your whole build around cooldown reduction and resource cost reduction, you're going to be able to deal more damage and take more damage, which on the higher grade rifts is going to help you out tremendously. From there, there's more optimization that we can do to ensure that this armor performs at a necessarily high level. Anywhere where you can get Spectral Blade at 15%, I recommend that you do so, because that's going to be one of your main sources of damage after you put combustion stacks on your enemies. So definitely 15% Spectral Blade wherever possible. Subsequently, anywhere that you can power up your Disintegrate by 15%, you do not want to ignore this, because keep in mind, your 2 main sources of damage are Disintegrate and Spectral Blade, and then Explosive Blast. So anywhere you can get 15% of Disintegrate first, put it. Anywhere that you could get 15% of Spectral Blade where you're not taking away from Disintegrate, put it on the armor. Then if you see a slot that has like 15% explosive blast, and you actually have the room for it, and you're not sacrificing critical hit damage, cooldown reduction, you're not messing with the stats of your intelligence, definitely do so and augment it there. But the main priority is buffing Disintegrate, and then Spectral Blade, and then everything else should be an afterthought. Make sure that you have cooldown reduction maxed wherever possible to increase your amount of damage. Make sure that you have your crit hit damage, your crit hit ratios at max power. That way you're going to do more damage. In order to apply high greater rifts, it's very important that you're able to take hits and able to deal significant hits. The higher you go up on a greater rift, the more the enemies are going to have HP. Particularly, I'm talking about the elite packs, which are the glowing yellow and glowing blue enemies, as well as the Riff Guardian, which is the boss at the end of a greater rift run. So all these things, if you do and follow my advice, will help you tremendously during your seasonal journey for Firebird. Now, at some point in your seasonal journey, you're going to have to make a decision as to whether you want to keep Firebird or if you want to swap out to our armors. My personal recommendation is I feel like Firebird's gotten nerfed a bit, but it's not going to still be able to do as high of a greater rift climbing. My recommendation for players, if you want to get further and it requires less optimization, in my personal opinion, can clear things faster, is I would look at the Veil of the Typhon set armor, the Frost Hydra build. Frost Hydra is a very powerful build for wizards. It's more control-based. It allows you to zone enemies from far, and it explodes enemies significantly quickly. Hold your thought there for a second. Let's take out the Riff Guardian. What we're going to do is apply the combustion stacks, then use the Spectral Blade. Most times if you have enough combustion stacks and you haven't wasted it with a teleport, you should be able to one-shot the Riff Guardian like you saw there. So keep that in mind. You don't want to teleport too much unless you're in a bad position, because remember, every time you teleport, you're wasting your combustion stacks, and then you have to start from scratch again, which is kind of a mistake that a lot of Firebird players that are less experienced tend to make. So definitely keep an eye on how much of your combustion stacks. Remember, they do have a limit in terms of their cap. I believe it's like 50 last time I checked. So remember, after 50 stacks, then it's kind of just going to stay there, and it's not going to get any more powerful. That's why we have then Zay's Stone of Vengeance, and if you wanted, Bane of the Stricken, or, you know, Bane of the Trap even to a lesser extent. Level 65, 5 minutes and 22-second clear time. So we actually were faster in that run because we were more efficient in doing elite pack farming. Elite pack farming is basically where you ignore some of the lower level enemies and just look for the yellow, blue, glowing things that give you the purple herbs to be able to think. One of the good things with Firebird is that it can potentially elite pack farm thanks to the fact that it's teleporting around. The only issue with this is, again, as you go higher up in the Greater Rifts, it becomes less effective to elite pack farm due to the fact that you don't want to teleport into a large area of mobs because you are going to take a lot more damage than you do on lower levels, even with proper optimization. Further optimization that you could do on this armor is you need to augment your armor with Ancient Legendary Gems. Ancient Legendary Gems are the gems that you level up through Greater Rift. What you want to do is get your gems to at least level 80. Then you will put them in the Kanai's Cube with an Ancient Legendary or Primal Ancient Legendary piece. Then you will want to take, in the particular case of the Wizard, free, flawless topazes in the Kanai's Cube and augment the power. My recommendation is, if you're really struggling to get higher up in the Greater Rift in your seasonal journey, is to augment your gems at level 80. You can also do level 70, but level 80 will give you a little bit more value. You always want to augment gems that are gems that you're not going to use. So, like, when you get past Greater Rift 70, really, Bane of the Powerful is not going to help you too much anymore, so you just come in and put a Bane of the Powerful, maybe Pain Enhancer, because Pain Enhancer is not very used on Wizard build, and then any throwaway gems is basically you're going to get it to level 80 and then augment it into your armor, because you don't pass on Common Misception, the abilities of the gem. All you're doing is augmenting the power with by using a legendary gem. So you use your throwaway gems and you level those up, and then you just basically do things that way. So keep that in mind. What you want to do is augment every piece of your armor, which means you want your armor at least Ancient Legendary or Primal Ancient Legendary status. Also keep in mind that, again, level 80, if you're struggling higher up, the more damage you're going to get. So I would recommend, if you can, level 100 augmentations, because that should probably be able to push you into the 130, 135 solo range. And then as you are doing in a group, probably with those augmentations as well, you should be able to clear a 150 in an experienced group. Now, in terms of the tier list for Diablo III Season 25, things haven't changed too much. The end-all to be-all armors that do the fastest leaderboard placements and are the easiest to use are still Whirlwind Barbarian, as well as the Gears of Dreadland set. Those are the Spin to Win armors. Things that are performing still very well. Mundanuga's Regalia, which is basically a Spirit Barrage Witch Doctor set. Subsequently, also, one of the armors that has been performing significantly well now is in the embodiment of the Marauder. That is the Demon Hunter set that uses the Sentries. Keep in mind that the Sentries were buffed recently. I hope to cover that set armor in the near future. However, we do have to talk about a couple of things that are going to be going on the channel in regards to Diablo 3 content. So I'll get to that towards the end of this video. But embodiment of Marauder is doing significantly well, which I was very surprised to see. Spirit of Arachna is still doing terrible. So really, the 5 armors that are performing the best right now. Mundanuga's, not Mundanuga, in this order. Whirlwind Barbarian, Gears of Dreadland. I've seen Legacy of Dreams. Poison Scythe build's pretty high up there. I've seen Masquerade of the Burning Carnival, which is the Bone Spear Necromancer build. Still very high up in the tier list. Still performing on S tier levels. Mundanuga's Regalia, which is a Spirit Barrage. I've seen Chantotum Veers ripping through things, despite the fact that people claim that it is not an S tier build. I guess, again, that is very dependent on the player base and everything in the sort and how you use the armor. Frost Hydra builds are still incredibly popular and performing significantly well. Keep in mind that some Frost Hydra builds do not use the Veil of the Typhoon set, but instead use the Legacy of Dreams gem with a whole bunch of mixed moss pieces to do what it needs to do. So there are a lot of variations. I know some people have been wanting me to cover the Veil of the Typhon set, or not so much that, but the variation of it, which is the Legacy of Dreams Hydra build. I will be doing that hopefully in the not so distant future, but I did want to talk to you guys about something that's been going on real quickly. As you've seen, I haven't really been doing too many Diablo 3 videos, kind of in a transitional period personally in my life, which means I actually don't have access to my Diablo 3 game at the moment. I kind of left somewhere, so it's kind of in storage at the moment, and I have my PC. I'm not playing Diablo 3 on the PC because I don't play it on that. I play it on the Nintendo Switch platform, which is why for like the last 2 or 3 weeks you haven't seen the Diablo 3 guide. That doesn't mean that I'm abandoning Diablo content on the channel. What it does mean is it's going to take me a while before you see the next video. I'm going to try to finish out the starter guides for you, hopefully before the end of the season's up. Also keep in mind that, as I've covered a couple times on the channel, there aren't a lot of things that have changed from season to season with Diablo 3. In particular, Gears of Dreadlands hasn't changed since last season. Whirlwind Barbarian hasn't changed from last season. Horde of the 90 Savages hasn't changed from last season. Chantotum Veer, Veil the Typhon, all these armors have not seen any nerfs or buffs. The information that is available from previous seasons still applies and is still relevant to this day. The only difference is that there's obviously not the seasonal gems featured in those guides. And now that brings me to the next point. If you have not seen here in this guide the seasonal gems, there's a good reason for that. I've linked you to the description in the guide for those seasonal gems as to what you should be using. The reason I do that is a lot of people come to my content after a season is over, and that information as to what gems you should run for the season is then not relevant, which is why I feel it's important to include that in the description as opposed to going over in the video, because there's a high tendency people come and watch videos that have been happened in the past or 2 seasons afterwards and then are asking for information that is no longer, or get information that would no longer be relevant. So it's in the description. Read it, love it, be it, everything of the sort. You should do just fine. Personal opinion with Firebird, it's kind of a boring playstyle. I've said this before. I do appreciate the fact that it has been buffed. I don't appreciate the fact that I got the nerf to the pets because I don't feel like it was overperforming on the level that Blizzard claims it was. I think there's still bigger problems. I still think Spin to Win is kind of very damaging to the metagame of Diablo 3 because it's just so easy to just hold in a button and profit from it and win that way. I feel like those are armors that really are problems. Buffing something that was basically underperforming like Firebird and then taking away a lot of its power for the use of pets, which came about in a lot of fun build, kind of is very disheartening. Although we were able to kind of work with it, and as you see here, we haven't taken any deaths because of that. What it has done with this basic 6-piece bonus rework is make it so that clear times are a lot longer. As you see, this is a Greater Rift 70. Greater 70 is taking me a lot longer. We're looking at a 6 to 7 minute clear time potentially here. And this is factoring in that we're using Nemesis Bracers to spawn additional elite packs for additional orbs and everything of the sort. And that we're playing smart and we're trying to elite pack farm for the most part. It's just that it's been significantly reduced in power, which means the leaderboard placement is very, very longer. So if you were trying to get like the highest leaderboard placement with Wizard build, I'd say Chantotum Veer. When you fully optimize a Chantotum Veer and you know how to do your damage rotation and you're abusing your Goaka's swiftness and everything of the sort, you can overperform and exceed any expectations and make it look like Firebird is pretty much an F-tier armor in my personal opinion. Remember, when it comes to tiers, there's no real right or wrong answer. It's just all subjective to a person's playstyle. Keep in mind that certain things I think are overpowered, some people might not think are. Some people might think that's things I play that are weak that I consider powerful, and vice versa. It's all a matter of opinion, so let's make sure in the comments and vice versa to respect everybody's opinions, because tier lists are just there as recommendations and tell you what has been overused and what's being underused and what's like halfway in the middle. Other than that, it's not. There's no wrong or right way to play Diablo 3. You play it based on the playstyle that you like. You play the things that you enjoy. You optimize it the way that you see fit. That's the benefit of this. This is just here like an open forum to show you ideas, suggestions, and to help some of the newer players. That was a greater of 70. That was about a 6.5 minute clear time. Let's see if we got any good loot here. Let's identify. I can already tell by the silhouettes. That's something that you learn after playing way too much Diablo as to whether you got any good items. I know we have crap here. None of these are going to be useful. That's another Firebird piece. Probably not Ancient Legendary. Let's see, though. Yep. See? Told you. Firebird piece. All right. This is one of those Blind Faith things, I believe. Yep. Blind Faith. See? I called it right. This necklace could be anything. Flavor of Time. We already have it, so we don't really necessarily need it. Let's get that. Rancer's Fury. That's good if you're using the Energy Twister build, which maybe in the future I will cover it for Firebird, but it is a lot slower than even this build, and you can't get as many things on it to do as much damage. It's a lot slower in my personal opinion. Conventional Elements, we might hold on to that to see if we can reroll for certain stats there. Firewalkers, that's terrible. This belt's going to be crappy, I can tell you right off the bat. Yep, Thunder of God's Vigor. After a while playing, you just learn how these silhouettes are. So like I said, the next Diablo 3 video guide, I'm not 100% sure when it's going to be dropping. Like I said, I'm still kind of in the process of kind of readjusting to certain things that are going on in terms of recording schedule and everything of the sort. So it might take me a while before I cover the next one. I will be covering some Diablo 2 content because we have been neglecting Diablo 2 for a while on the channel. But overall, that's how you play Firebird's Finery. That's how you kind of get around the 6-piece nerf with it. Just run an Enforcer. If you want to, you can even buff the Hydras if you have the space for it. But Disintegrate and pretty much your Spectral Blades and then your Explosive Blast should be able to do things. I'm looking to see if we got anything that we can reroll here. I want to show you guys that sometimes you have to observe the rings that you drop. Let's see here. Yeah, because we want to try to go for more cooldown reduction. Because if we go for more cooldown reduction, we can get more things here. Let's see. This ring overall is not going to really work in our benefit too much. Let's see here. Vitality is a stat you don't necessarily need in Diablo 3. It's more important in Diablo 2. Let's see if we can reroll. We got resource cost reduction there. Let's reroll it. I'm trying to get cooldown reduction to see how far we can significantly increase this particular build. Alright, Vitality again is useless. Damage is not too helpful. It will give you a little bit more damage, but overall we're looking for cooldown reduction here. This is how you kind of optimize your armor as well, in case these guys are wondering. So let's see here. Let's roll again. This is why you farm a lot. We're trying to go for the cooldown reduction here, because if we go for the cooldown reduction, we can kind of compare and contrast. Alright, nope. Let's keep rolling. We have a lot of these emeralds. Let's keep rolling. Looking for cooldown. This is how basically you optimize. Critical hit damage 47%. That might increase our amount of damage. Let's check. Yeah, that did. Alright. This is one of those times where maybe we'll forsake cooldown reduction. Let's keep re-rolling just in case now. Let's see. I want to get a couple of re-rolls. I would recommend doing about 25 to 20. And then at that point, you kind of figure out and assess whether it's worth trying to continue to re-roll or just farm for items. In this particular situation, we're going to compare the rings and see how much damage I can increase by with this critical hit damage on this ring. Really, also, it's not really our benefit because if you look at the conventional elements stack that we have, 108% is better damage rotation. So what we're going to do is we're going to salvage this ring. We're going to keep the puzzle ring for offline things. and then we're pretty much going to bid everybody a fond farewell. So that's going to do it for the Firebird's Finery set armor build. Leave your comments in the comment section. I'll get back to you. As always, a like on this video is greatly appreciated. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, definitely consider doing so, and I will see you for the next Diablo video. Till next time, guys.